11 years and 21 films later, Marvel and Disney have completely changed the movie industry forever. Everybody is trying to steal the Marvel formula, but so far, no other company or franchise has come even a little close to winning the combination of action, comedy, drama, and interwoven stories that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This isn't to say that Marvel didn't have its missteps, as several of these films were, well, not so great. In addition to that, some of them were almost completely pointless to the continuity and were best enjoyed as simply a side story. And as such, I will not only rank these films but also give the list of the only absolutely needed Marvel films to understand the main story. Number 21, and I'm sure almost everybody knew this was coming, The Incredible Hulk. Do you remember this film at all? I know I don't. Just a whole lot of nothing for almost an hour, followed by 15 minutes of CGI monstrosities punching things. It's sad when I can easily say there are more memorable moments from the 2003 Hulk film. Number 20. Thor: The Dark World. Between its forgettable villain and near inconsequential plot, the second Thor film was a surprisingly terrible one. If this film wasn't riding on the success of the first Avengers movie, it would have been no more successful nor memorable than 2003's Daredevil, for example. Thor 2 reminds me of every bad superhero film from the late 90s and early 2000s, where the hero simply kills the villain at the end and completely restores the status quo. Number 19. Iron Man 3. I actually had to go back and rewatch this and the second Iron Man back to back to know which one was actually worse in the long run. Turns out Iron Man 2 was a much better film than Iron Man 3. This movie had a good idea. Tony Stark suffers from PTSD after flying a nuke into a massive alien invasion fleet, and a bad idea. Make the antagonist a crappy syndrome. How can I care about a villain whose entire motivation was that he was ignored by a billionaire? Excuse me, Bill Gates, you don't know me, but I promise I'll make a great addition to your company. Proof? No, I don't have any. You want nothing to do with me? Well, I guess it's time to just take over the world. What? Number 18. Thor. Want to see a movie where a guy and girl fall in love in 2-day span? No? Seems cliche? Well, what if I tilt the screen? Yeah, didn't see that coming, did you? Now suffer through this horrible movie with its bad lighting and contrast, all the way through the climax, which is just the hero dying from a Hollow Man backhand.
He needs some milk!
Number 17. This is probably where I'm going to lose a lot of you. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. How can you screw up what was so good about the first one with the addition of even more extremely talented actors? I'm really confused on who this movie was even for, as it had middle school like potty humor as its main source of jokes, followed closely by slapstick. Also, the forced bad acting laughs from so many characters over the Taserface joke. Multiple times. If not for the Yondu subplot, I'd place this movie dead last. Number 16. Captain Marvel. Brie Larson was too busy doing her best Terminator impression, I guess, for 90% of the film to have any kind of connection with her. The de-aging process was surprisingly good on Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, but he still moved around like a 70-year-old man. And lastly, the shaky cam fight scenes. Please, it's not 1997 anymore. Choreograph something that looks decent without cutting every 2 seconds, while the camera moves more than the actors. Number 15. Doctor Strange. Cool visuals, creative way to defeat the bad guy, acting was all fine, but not very good anything else. Number 14. Iron Man 2. While leagues better than Iron Man 3, it failed to recapture what really made the first film great. Its biggest crime was simply not filling the shoes of its predecessor. This is the first film on this list that I consider to be better than simply okay at best. Number 13. Captain America. This film was fine. My biggest problem with it was Hugo Weaving doing the least convincing accent in cinema history since, well, Sean Connery in anything.
It is.
But Chris Evans plays the perfect Captain America, and the story sets this once bland character up as an interesting, complex individual. Number 12. Ant-Man. A fun remake of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Ocean 11 vibes. Minus the villain, again. The performances were all around fantastic, making this one of the better origin story films. Number 11. Ant-Man 2. A slightly better in every way version of the first. Number 10. Black Panther. One of the first movies in Marvel to have a villain whose motive isn't just, hi, I'm evil. It is certainly better than half the Marvel films despite being 2/3 a Lion King remake. Or maybe it's because of that. I don't know. Number 9. Guardians of the Galaxy. A funny, lighthearted space adventure that gives the big bad Thanos his first real bit of screen time. Guardians was proof that with a good cast and script, even the least known of comic book characters can make for a good time on the big screen. Number 8. Spider-Man Homecoming. The best Spider-Man film since Spider-Man 2, and third best overall. It feels good to have an actor believably play Peter Parker and Spider-Man, even though it's highly stripped of almost every good supporting character. J. Jonah Jameson, both Harry and Norman Osborn, Gwen Stacy, Eddie Brock, etc. It still benefits from the great performances of Michael Keaton and Tom Holland. Number 7. Age of Ultron. Not as bad as everybody remembers. Just like Iron Man 2, it was a solid film that just didn't quite live up to the expectations set up to it by the predecessor. But the first 15 minutes and the last 20 minutes are both spectacular Avengers action at its best. Number 6. Captain America Civil War. Although the story and reasons are a bit on the weak side, the sheer spectacle of this movie mostly makes up for it. Plus, the final emotional fight between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers is still one of the most enticing moments in the entire MCU.
He's my friend. So was I.
Number 5. Infinity War. This movie was not an Avengers movie, it was a Thanos movie. He was the protagonist of this film, and I loved every second of his story. Plus, the sheer scope was decently balanced, though I do feel Captain America was slightly underfeatured. Number 4. Thor Ragnarok. Two of the blandest characters in the entire MCU finally have personality. To me, it was a welcome, soft reboot. Plus, Korg. I mean, come on. A+. Number 3. Iron Man 1. Where it all started, and in my opinion, one of, if not the best superhero origin film ever made. Number 2. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The best solo film in the whole franchise. Unlike Iron Man 3 and Thor 2, it played by the rules set up by all the movies before it. It was obviously a direct sequel of his first solo film, but also the first believable story told in the aftermath of the Avengers. Plus, it's nice to have a slightly more grounded political espionage film, after being spectacled out by the massive scope of the superheroes save the world from an alien invasion. This movie was personal in scope and in execution. The choreography was perfect. The relationship of the protagonist and the antagonist was on a personal scale. The agency Nick Fury has been a part of and built up for the last 30-some years turns on him. All with just enough returning cast members from the Avengers crossover to make it feel like it belongs. Finally, number 1, The Avengers. You can't beat the first real superhero team-up movie ever. Or at least, it hasn't been done yet. Everything about it was just perfect. With all the characters previously established, including the villain, it allowed the story to unfold right from the start without wasting the entire first act on exposition dumps. It's balanced in almost every way, with the exceedingly rare comedic timing that doesn't undermine the tension, but acts as mild relief to break up the long bits of tension, keeping it more from getting stale. Something the new Star Wars movies in particular completely fail at, for example.
Hi, I'm holding for General Hux.
This is Hux. You and your friends are doomed. We will wipe your filth from the galaxy.
Look, I can't hold forever. If you reach him, tell him Leia has an urgent message for him.
I believe he's tooling with you, sir.
About his mother.
Whew, alright, that was quite the list, and if you've stuck with me this far, then I've got what I promised in the beginning. Which movies are absolutely needed to make continuous story with minimal confusion and maximal time efficiency? Here's that list in order. Captain America, Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Captain America 2, Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, and Avengers Infinity War. With this, you can catch up on all the major events that have a real impact on the overall story, in more ways than just, a single offhand line. This is 95% of the core story. Everything else is just side story fluff. But fluff, I know we've all come to love. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, comment down below and let me know what changes you would make to the ranking, and if there is a movie of extreme importance to the plot not mentioned in my compact list. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.